society, but one that is still based on the principles of free and fair trade. That's the society that I want to live in, and I think that we're going to see that here in El Salvador.
Hey guys,
Hey guys,
it's Ryan
and Jessica
coming to you from
El Salvador.
So today, it's a bit of a sad day because we have to go back to Canada. Yep, the Canadian Embassy, that is, because we are headed in to get started on our residency permits here in El Salvador.
And we are so excited to take you on the journey with us.
Yeah, so we're going to be meeting with Jeremy from escapetoelsalvador.org. He's going to be our help and our agent and our guide in this regard. It's white glove service, so we're super stoked to be meeting with him very soon. We're heading to the gate right now to catch the ride. And yes, this will be a temporary 1-year residency permit. It'll give us a bit of degree of freedom here. We can breathe out, relax, feel more settled in, and whatnot. So yes, join us on the journey as we head to the embassy and fill out some forms, and we're going to sit down with Jeremy and talk all about the process of getting started on your residency permit in El Salvador.
All right, let's go!
Let's do it! What's up, Jeremy?
What's going on?
Say hi.
See ya. Come on in, please. Come on in. Hi.
Oh, it's so nice and cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anything worth doing is worth doing in style, right?
That's right.
Right.
Okay, so I'll just give you the rundown on what's going to happen today so that you know what to expect. We're going to head from here directly to the embassy, and when we get to the embassy, even though the appointment's a little bit later on, it'll be fine. It's not like there's a mad rush at the Canadian Embassy every day. It's usually them just sitting around and sipping espressos and wondering what's going on.
Okay.
So we'll go in there, we'll drop off the documents, and we will get them legalized. It can happen really quickly. It just depends. Maybe the ambassador is there and they just stamp it and hand it right back to you. Sometimes it takes a couple of days. That's not a problem either way. Once we get those documents, they go into translation, and then that'll be the last basic step of the process. Everything else we've already done ahead of time in anticipation of your visit today. So we'll do all of the signatures and put together your package so you'll know exactly what's getting submitted, and then basically we just wait for the embassy to give us their stamps and get it translated and get it into immigration. So it'll be a pretty smooth process for you guys, in and out.
Back from the Canadian Embassy, where we got some documents notarized, apostolized, made official for submission to the Salvadoran government as part of our residency application. Jeremy, do you want to explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so basically, if you have documents that are issued in a different country, they just have to have a certain set of official stamps so that the government of El Salvador recognizes that the documents are legitimate, right? And that's the process that everybody has to go through, and it's the basis for every residency application. So no matter what kind of residency visa you're getting, you got to have your passport, you got to have your background check, and then each program has a specific set of requirements. So that's what we're doing here, is just getting that background check completely squared away with all the official stamps.
Right on. Okay, so we're heading back to the apartment right now. We're going to sit down with Jeremy and we're going to go over the whole process, all the details, everything you need to know to come to El Salvador. All right, let's do it.
Stays young, sir.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're here. We're at the condominium of Jeremy from escapetoelsalvador.org.
The man.
The
Oh
man
my gosh,
himself.
come on.
Yeah, the white glove service.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jeremy he has been our guide to the ins and outs of moving to El Salvador. He's been an enormous, tremendous help. And if you are thinking about moving to El Salvador, this is the man to talk to right here. But we know lots of you guys have questions, so we're going to go over a few points right now. All right, so let's get started. So Jeremy, lots of our audience is born in El Salvador and has been away for a long time. They have questions about, is this really the right move for them? Can they count on all the positive changes as being permanent and lasting? What's your view on that?
Sure. Well, certainly I would say that they don't have to take my word for it. What I would recommend is look at a professional polling agency like Gallup. Just a few days ago, they released numbers saying that 95% of the population supports the changes that have been happening and supports President Bukele and the move that he's made toward making this one of the safest places in the world. So the proof is in the pudding, right? 95% support. That's just a crazy number,
right?
And you can really think about that as the foundation for the changes that are happening and how people see them.
Right. Okay. Do you have any specific, just Cliff Notes advice for people who are maybe Canadian, maybe they're American or from Europe?
Sure.
They're looking at El Salvador as a place to go, make a change in their life.
Yeah.
What would you say to them as sort of the first thing to think about?
Yeah, the first thing to think about is that this is a normal country, right? This is a normal country with a big city. It's developed. It's nice. There are a lot of places to go. It feels comfortable. It feels like going on a trip to Miami or maybe a destination in the Caribbean. Whatever your preconceptions of El Salvador are, I promise you they're wrong. And if you come and you just see it with your own eyes, it's going to blow you away.
Right, that was definitely true for us as well. And we had some sense that El Salvador was different than we thought, different than we've seen in the media, but we had no idea the country we find when we got here, just how beautiful it is, and just how much raw potential is exploding all over the country right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like when people say that, like, are you sure that you want to move to El Salvador? What a crazy idea. Once you get here, you kind of realize that, staying was a crazy idea.
Staying back home, you mean?
Yeah.
So true. So
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. So one of the big things that has happened to El Salvador over the past year is the introduction of a new currency.
Right.
Right. So there's a lot of skepticism around that.
Sure.
And maybe that some are saying that it wasn't a very wise decision. Some are saying it has failed.
Right.
Of course, we're talking about Bitcoin.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on the Bitcoin law and how that has impacted El Salvador?
I think that the Bitcoin law has been a tremendous success, but I think that the disconnect is what people define success as, right? If you are going into the thought process saying success looks like 100% merchant adoption, then of course you're going to be disappointed. You would be disappointed anywhere, any place that tried to roll that out. I mean, you could have had the same situation happen in the United States or just the state of California, and you would not get 100% merchant adoption.
Right.
You couldn't hold a gun to people's heads to make them do it, even if you tried. So what you really have to do is say, what are my qualifications for success? What does success look like? And in my opinion, success primarily looks like having an actual legal basis to use the currency as a legal tender. That doesn't mean that you force people to accept it. What it means is that you can use it as a protection against bankruptcy. Legal tender is a very specific concept in the law, and it means that if I incur a debt and someone comes after me to make me repay that debt by taking me to court, that I can offer the currency of the realm, the coin of the realm, and say, like, you have to accept this payment that I'm willing to give you, or you discharge my debt. And in most cases, up to the last year, the currency was dollar, the U.S. dollar, right? And so that was the only form of money that I could give to satisfy debts. But now, in addition, there's Bitcoin. And I think that's really important as more Bitcoin-oriented businesses and businesses who adopt Bitcoin on their balance sheet, as that number starts to grow and they're thinking about jurisdictions that they want to move into, that's a really important protection, because businesses don't want to hold a currency on their balance sheet that can't be used in that circumstance to settle debt, right? So that legal protection is a primary condition for success in my book, right? But we got that done with the passage of the law. And as far as I'm concerned, everything else is gravy. When we go and we do education around the basics of Bitcoin in the community, every person that we are able to convince or open their eyes to using Bitcoin, each one is a success, right? So we've had nothing but success in terms of going into the communities and teaching one by one students how to use it, professionals how to use it, roadside vendors how to use it. Like it takes all of the different dimensions of society to really come together with that. And then, obviously there's going to be growing pains. There are going to be businesses that are trying to figure out how to adapt to this new environment. But someone has to blaze the trail, right? And as far as I'm concerned, the trailblazer has the chance to see the best rewards at the end of the trail, right? Because they're the first to get there, and that's El Salvador. When we figure it out here, we're going to be really setting the standard for the rest of the world to follow. And as far as I'm concerned, that alone, putting El Salvador back on the map, after so many people would not have even known where to point it out on the map. Now it's very much a talking point. And I mean, can you imagine another country that's gotten the amount of press that El Salvador has in the past year?
That's right.
Come on.
Yeah.
Hands down. That's success.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like I know that before the Bitcoin law, if someone said El Salvador to me, the first thing that came to my mind was coffee.
Okay,
and that would be it, just coffee.
Sure.
But now it's Bukele, it's crime reduction, it's Bitcoin, it's
Great
tourism,
surfing.
All the
it's surfing.
infrastructure that's happening here.
Yeah, just the whole place there's so many things that come to mind now just in the past couple of years. So it's incredible. Right, so next question, and I'm sure it's a burning question on all of your minds, is how does one move to El Salvador? When you're in Canada, and we experience this, you're in Canada and you're thinking about moving to El Salvador, it's just an overwhelming thought. All the things you have to take care of, and just that alone can stop you in your tracks, because it seems like there's just so much to take care of. It's not practical, it's not something we can do, so just sit tight and stand pat. We overcame that in part with help from Jeremy here. So Jeremy, would you be so kind to elaborate for the audience what you told us about the steps of coming to El Salvador, and what it takes to go from a place like Canada to El Salvador?
Right. So there are actually 17 different ways to get residency in El Salvador. So there's a program that's right for everyone. You can apply as a business owner, you can apply as a digital nomad, an independent worker, which is what we're doing with these guys right here. You can apply as a student, just like in other countries. You want to get a student visa to go to another country, you can get a student visa to come here. You just apply for one of the different educational institutions, and if they approve you, good to go. You can stay as a resident based on that fact. You can come here as a missionary. So maybe you're active with your church and you want to do outreach in El Salvador. We have a special residency program for missionaries. So a lot of different packages. You just have to find out what's right for you, and you can reach out to me anytime and I'll talk to anybody and we'll figure out what your situation is.
Awesome. Yes, and we recommend that you do that. Head over to escapetoelsalvador.org. Go through some of the material there. Formulate your questions and send Jeremy an email. He's always happy to hear from you, and he's easy to talk to, let me tell you.
Thank you.
Okay, so a question that I have, and I'm sure many of you viewers at home that are watching have, is for people who are looking to retire in El Salvador, what is the best way to go about, whether it's finding a home, figuring out any kind of financial questions they may have?
Sure.
Could you answer that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So retiring in El Salvador is a really great option for a lot of people. The number one thing that you're going to want to do is square away your documents before you come, right? You want to think about this from the perspective of the immigrations officer. They're going to want to verify your income, right? So if you have a government pension, that document needs to show, it'll be called a lot of different things in a lot of different places. Maybe it's a benefit letter or a summary letter or something to that effect. But it's going to be an official document on letterhead that tells what your benefit amount is and that it's paid every month. You just want supporting evidence for that. Typically, those documents, if they're issued by a government agency, you're going to need to get them apostilled or authenticated, depending on the country that you're coming from and whether it was a party to the Hague Treaty, right? You can find that out by jumping on Google and saying, I'm coming from Spain, apostille, and go down the rabbit hole a little bit, or of course reach out and I'll help you in your particular circumstance. But the number one thing that you can do is get your documents squared away before you come here, because it's so much easier to do it while you're still in your country of origin than trying to coordinate and communicate across the borders, right? So do that. And as far as finding places to live, it's pretty easy once you're here, right? One of the things that is, I guess, a blessing and a curse about El Salvador is that it's not the most online country in the world, right? Most of the people who are renting out houses or apartments or whatnot, maybe there are some listings online, but the vast majority of people are just grabbing a piece of wood and painting on it and sticking it in the front yard because they're talking to the people who are driving by or whatever. So it really is a who do you know kind of a community. So finding real estate, whether it's for rental or for purchase, it's really a boots on the ground kind of a gig here.
And that's how you found this place, right?
Right.
With the sign
Right.
on the side of the road.
Well,
It's true though. We found that when we were preparing to come here, we were looking at apartments online and we could not find anything really.
It's tough.
And we were concerned that there was just nothing available. But it's that way. You have to be able to communicate locally and get on the ground and look around and see what you can see. So it definitely helps to have contacts in the country. And once again, Jeremy is ready to receive you. Also, you can reach out to Jess and I. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have. And if we don't have the answer, we know someone who does. That includes for apartments and everything else. So don't hesitate. So, Jeremy, there's someone in the audience right now who is watching us talk, and they are thinking, this is not something I can do. This is something that only other people can do.
Sure.
What would you say to that person or persons?
I would say that I have seen all different kinds come to El Salvador, right? My background is technical. I love Bitcoin. I'm here for the Bitcoin revolution, right? So I'm a sort of a go-getter, and I'm a real do-it-yourself kind of a guy, and I love to do all of the research. But you don't have to do that here, right? I do it just because that's something that I enjoy doing, and I probably over-prepare in that regard. But you can literally jump on a plane, and there are there are direct flights from, I don't know, a dozen different U.S. cities and cities around the world, and the flights are pretty cheap. So just come here and see it. Number one, that's the thing that I would say. See it with your own eyes, and you're going to realize that it's not as big of a hurdle as you thought it was, because you're always going to imagine it being more difficult. And this really goes to the last point as well. If you're looking online for places to live, don't get frustrated. Don't fall to the trap that, oh my gosh, it's not available or it's too difficult. It's just a different way of doing business down here. So adapt to that and understand why it may be difficult to completely plan it all. I feel that very strongly myself. I had a little anxiety coming here because I wanted all of the I's dotted and the T's crossed, but it's totally not necessary. You can show up and there's plenty of places available. You just have to be here in person to see it and snap up the one that fits for you.
Definitely. Okay. Well, that's great info. It's very informative. Thank you, Jeremy. Today is the day that we have started our residency application. Hooray.
Very exciting.
It's a big step.
And huge step. Psychologically for us, it's a major step. It's a sense of putting down roots for the first time in a while since we left. But the first step we had to do was go to the Canadian Embassy.
Right.
So that was step number one. What is step number two today?
Step number two today is that we're going to go upstairs and we're going to sign some documents that'll give us the power to get rolling on your behalf.
is that now we're waiting, essentially.
Essentially,
Yeah,
this
there's
one.
maybe a few other small steps.
Right.
But now the clock is ticking. Generally speaking, correct me if I'm wrong, it's about 45 days
Correct.
to hear back from the government about whether or not you'll be granted your permit.
Yeah, that's what we're typically running. They have a full 90 days to respond, right?
Okay.
But about 45 is typical, and you will be able to see your progress. Actually, they'll give you a code when you submit, or they'll give us a code and we'll give it to you. And there's a web portal that you can go online, put the code
great.
in, and you can see the percentile progress that your application is making. So you'll know
Okay.
when it's done.
Great.
And we'll be tracking that too.
Right,
going forward.
right. And that'll be a great day when we get the answer there.
Oh, it's a wonderful day when you
Yeah.
when you have that residency card
Right.
for the first time.
Yeah.
You feel like finally,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
finally you've got that home.
So what happens when you apply is you get an automatic extension to your tourist visa.
That's correct.
Right, so the tourist visa is generally about 90 days, and when you apply for the temporary residency permit, you get a 90-day extension automatically.
Correct.
So it's like a bonus. That way you don't have to worry about being kicked out of the country while you're waiting for the answer.
Right.
Okay, great. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for your help.
You're more than
Yes,
welcome.
thank you
It
so
was an
much.
absolute pleasure, guys, and we'll be in touch and let you know how that progress goes and get you that card.
Okay.
That'll be another photo op.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I want to be in
Yeah.
on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
If you want to get in contact with Jeremy,
Description below.
description below. He
Escape
has
to El
Twitter.
Salvador.
Follow him on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any additional questions about this process, drop them in the comments below or contact us on Twitter, send us a DM. We'd be happy to hear from you. All right, so I guess that's it, hey?
Yeah, that's
All right, so head on down below, leave your comments, go hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, like and share, and all that stuff you say on YouTube. Okay, that's it.
Bye.
Bye everybody.
Bye.